Hey, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Bill Faeth, entrepreneur, and today I want to talk to you about how to start a seven-figure business with literally little to no cash, and most importantly, with no outside funding. Here's what I'm going to tell you. If you don't know who I am, I've done 37 startups. I've had 24 exits. I still own seven of those businesses, actually six of those businesses. And until I started really investing heavily into real estate, I have built over 25 multi-million dollar businesses. Made it all the way up to just above 50 million, had three above 30 million, had about, I can't remember, maybe four above 20 million. So there's that segment goes into the 20 to 30 million, then 30 to 50 and 50 and above, and a boatload between 5 to 20 million. And the secret that I'm going to share with you is I never started with outside investors, never started with anybody's company. I've never used anybody else's money. And it's kind of somebody, who does what I do. I do real estate investing coaching and stuff like that. And I'm a real estate investor. A lot of people think, oh, it's OPM, it's other people's money. I have never one time used other people's money. Now, I did do some deals recently where I had an investor that wanted me to find properties, GCM, that means general contracting, handle major construction for them, have my wife do the design and then host them for them. And instead of charging individually for each one of those segments, we put a package deal together for equity for that. And that's one of the things, if you don't have money, you should think about doing that instead of just jumping into co-hosting or whatever. You should really be leveraging the equity position. So I ended up, acquiring almost $2.5 to $3 million in equity once we were done with ARV at the end of the project. But for my traditional businesses, for Bell Aqua Bikinis, my t-shirt business before that, Wild Bill's Texas Smokehouse, my drop shipping companies, even my ground transportation company, which is very capital intensive because you're buying vehicles. I started that with less than $100,000. My average business cost me between $5,000 to $15,000 to start, and it's because I follow very, very basic, very simple principles. And number one with this is really going in and identifying the problem. And I'm going to tell you right now that when you're bootstrapping, raising capital is a challenge unless you have experience. I've got experience. I could go raise money no problem today because I can show them my case studies, I can show them my track record, I can show them my experience. But when I was 22, 23, 24, really just getting started, I really had no chance with that. So one of the things is, and when you do raise capital, then you become allegiant to the man. I mean, they are going to pull your purse strings, especially if they have more experience than you do. And that was something I just didn't want that commitment. I've always wanted to kind of go on my own, even in my real estate business. I don't have a bunch of VAs that run my short-term rentals. I do it all myself. Me and my wife do it as a team. And one of the things that becomes really important, I'm going to run through 5 things with you today. And I'm going to start with number one. Number one is really identifying the need in the marketplace. Too many of you fall in love with something, you turn your hobby into a business because you're passionate about it, because you love it. And I believe 100% that we do need to be passionate about our business, that we do need to, fall in love with it. But that's not the reason to start the business. You start the business because there is a market need, there is a product deficiency, there is no service that's providing what you do, or you can just do it way fucking better than anybody else, right? Kind of, I use this as an example, kind of this iPhone, versus BlackBerry and Trio in the day. Steve Jobs just blew them out of the market, one with the need, and then two, he was a way better marketer than RIM, who owned BlackBerry, or I don't even know who owned the Trio, was maybe it was Samsung or something like that. The second thing really becomes right off the bat is cash flow and profitability management. Cash flow and profitability management. So a lot of people start businesses and they think that year 2, year 3, year 4 is when we're going to become profitable. Well, if you don't have any money to start with and you're not profitable immediately, you're going to have cash flow issues. And then what happens is you start slashing prices. So now you become a price sensitive, owner, and you're lowering pricing to try to compete on price, and you diminish your profit margin. You need to have pricing integrity, and you need to go in and stabilize and test market and do research ahead of time to where you can really identify the need in the marketplace and have, this is number 3, a go-to-market strategy before you launch. So many people open up that coffee shop. You go buy vans and get into the HVAC or the plumbing business because you're a good plumber, or you learned about HVAC, or you left being an apprentice for another company, then you can do it better. So you go start your own company. You're like, holy shit, I don't have any customers. You don't know how to go to market. You don't know how to acquire customers. And that's one of the biggest failure points, folks. And I see this with a lot of engineers that are wicked smart. They can build shit. They can get the SOPs done. They can do that back office, but they have no idea how to do customer acquisition. If you cannot focus on customer acquisition, then you're not really going to be a CEO. You're emblazoned, you're creating a job for yourself. So if you can't do that, that does not fall into your genius zone. If that is not a skill set that you have, you need to partner with somebody, you need to hire somebody. I recommend giving away profit share on a term basis as they work for you. Don't get into giving equity away, right off the bat, but you need a go-to-market strategy. You need sales and marketing to be able to scale, or you're going to burn through. If you start with $20,000, you're going to burn through that super quickly, right? It's really challenging unless you're going in and you're spending a boatload of money to buy a franchise that has built-in brand positioning, that has built-in market share that can transition over to your location. There's a reason that, let's just use franchises or QSRs, quick service restaurants that, McDonald's, Chipotle, whatever, whoever's franchising, they have a 1% national marketing fee typically that you're going to pay. Then they have a local or regional marketing fees you're going to pay, because they know you're probably not going to be very good at the marketing strategy. So they're going to handle it for you. So those are things that you have to have with that. Then, that cash flow management is absolutely critical. And the marketing and strategy ties into the next one, which is number 4 is, efficient scalability. And I use the word efficient because a lot of people just want to go, go, go. And if you really follow me closely, and if you don't, you should hit the subscribe button right now. If you follow me closely here or on my Build Short-Term Rental Wealth YouTube channel, or what I've done in my last 31 years in business, is I go quick, and speed is a huge factor for me, but it's got to be done efficiently. Because remember, I started bootstrapping everything. The first time I ever invested over 100 grand into a business startup was when I bought my first piece of real estate. And that wasn't even my first piece, because I bought my first duplex with like $40,000 back in 1993. And then fast forward all the way through, and literally my first short-term rental in 2015 was the first time I invested over $100,000 in capital to start a business. And that short-term rental business was probably around number 30, 31. So there was a lot of startups in there where I made significantly smaller investments. Even when I started Wild Bill's Texas Smokehouse, it was like $30,000 to build out the restaurant, buy the equipment, all that stuff. But I did have a partner, so they put in 30 grand. So we had a total of 60. But that was me seeking out a mentor. They had experience in the restaurant business. They had capital. I didn't. So I put up enough cash where I could still be equal partners with them, 50-50. And then, it's history. We scaled to 6 in 18 months, and we sold and moved on to the next one. That's number 5, really, when you're in an entrepreneurial side, is really mindset is a huge deal. And, I've used words like efficiency, speed, go-to-market strategy. Those are all mindsets that a lot of people don't have. If you're a get ready person, and you need to have every I dotted and every T crossed and your desk looking absolutely perfect before you slide in here and start working every morning. If you're not a person that jumps out of bed and literally slides right into your shoes and hits the gym, and when you hit the office, you're like working within 2 or 3 minutes. If you're one of those people that takes 30, 45 minutes to warm up, an hour, you need to really understand that. I mean, just follow fucking Cody Sanchez on Instagram for a week and watch how much he talks about speed and decision making and that type of stuff, because that's the traits of what I see in successful entrepreneurs. Nothing wrong with being a B personality. Nothing wrong with getting all your shit straight before you make a decision, but you still need to do that quickly, because speed is a huge trait, and it's really all mindset at how we look at all of these different components. I talked a little bit previously about marketing. Marketing is one of the huge deals, and it ties into sales. So I don't see a difference between sales and marketing. Dan Tyre from HubSpot coined the term many, many years ago, well over a decade ago. But that's marketing, the alignment of sales and marketing. What a lot of people do is we get trained that, hey, we've got marketing over here and their job is to support sales. And then we have our sales team over here. So if you start building out and scaling and building a sales team, and really they should be in the same fucking room. So even when you're starting as, you're the entrepreneur, you're the CEO, you're the janitor, you're the CMO, you're doing the marketing, you're doing everything, you're packaging, you're shipping, you're doing it all. You need to make sure that your sales and marketing messaging and initiatives are completely aligned. And most get this wrong. And they don't communicate. Say, hey, I'm going to put these funny, cool videos on Instagram, and then it doesn't tie into the sales cycle or the sales process, right? So you just want to make sure that all of that stuff is aligned. Like when I go through a business plan, really a lot of people have your executive summary. That's bullshit. I don't give a fuck about that. I keep that to the side. Oh, the mission statement. Who gives a shit about that? Let's get right into, organizational chart. What's going to inspire the team, right? So I look at there's an inspiration section of my business plan. And then I'm getting into customer acquisition. And then customer acquisition on the same page, I've got sales and I've got marketing, and I've got a line drawn right through it. And it's got to be on the same page, like literally, figuratively, and inside of the workplace. And I want my sales team and my marketing team to be, BFFs if we can, to where we don't have the sales team, complaining about the leads that the marketing team is generating for them, or the marketing team is saying, hey, we're delivering SQLs. Those are sales qualified leads, but the sales team sucks, at closing and follow up. And then you got to do audits of Salesforce or your CRM or whatever that is. So you just want to have them be unified, all the way across the board. And that's really what will help you accelerate your customer acquisition strategy. The next thing that really probably the most important is you. You and me, we are the entrepreneur, but we're also the leader. And if you look at, let's just use the sports analogy. You look at all great coaches, Bill Belichick, great coach, Pat Riley in basketball, John Wooden in basketball. You look at Nick Saban, a guy that I love, just a tremendous leader. And I absolutely love seeing the behind the scenes speeches that he gives to his kids, the training, the mindset stuff that he's doing, just about their own personal accountability, about showing up, these types of things that are all life lessons. And he's teaching them on the football field, but they're really meant, to foster them off the field. And that's one thing that a great leader does. Doesn't lead out of fear, doesn't tell people what to do, trains them on how to do it, number one, and shows them how to do it if he or she has the skill set. Those are the two things that great leaders do. If an employee has a deficiency, they take responsibility and then they go back and they retrain. They don't write them up. They don't suspend them, send them home. They don't yell at them. And look, I was one of those guys for many years. I didn't get it. I had to learn this trait. And that's when I started becoming super successful, when I really started investing into people. I started doing DISC profile tests. So that way, I see if somebody's compatible with me and with my team and the executives before I bring them in. And then we would go redo those DISC profile tests every 6 months, because people can change. Personalities change. The workplace environment can change people. Believe me, from somebody that was ruled out of fear and grew toxic work environments, and it took me, had an acquisition where one of my companies was acquired, and I had to work for the biggest asshole ever in the world, just a tyrant, short man syndrome. And, was able to see the dark side and learn, how I could become better after going through that experience. And it wasn't directly, correlated at me. It was how I saw, all my staff turned over within, I was acquired by a smaller company actually. And I saw all my staff get turned over within 12 months. It was horrific. And it was all predicated on the CEO, the leader. I can't emphasize leadership is different than management. And if you can really comprehend that management is different than leadership, and that you have to be both as you're starting to scale, then you will be able to nail it. So, if you can go in and you can focus on speed, you focus on cash flow and profitability management, and customer acquisition, and become a good leader, those are really the most important components that we've talked about today. That is what I see in all successful entrepreneurs that go from startup stage to being a real business or real entrepreneur to scaling into the CEO role. And I don't think many people hit a CEO role until you're in that like $15 to $20 million range. You're still going to be, until you can really, extricate yourself from the day-to-day operations and, totally e-myth. When you can totally e-myth yourself, to where you're not working inside the business, you're not in the day-to-day. You have an organizational chart that has a level of management, and it could be you as a CEO. You could have 2 or 3 managers, you could have 2 or 3 departments, and you could have 3, 4, 5 employees in each one of those departments. It could be a 20, 25 person organizational chart. But if you're not involved in the execution on the day-to-day, now you've ascended into a CEO role to where you're really doing higher level thought process things. You're working on strategic planning. You're implementing sales and marketing plans through your VP of sales or your sales manager, whoever that is, and you're not pulling those purse strings every single day. Now, one thing that I think is super critical is that you still are sustaining the relationships in a very positive way, all the way down to your janitor, your cleaning crew. And if you can do that, those are some traits I see of great leadership. So now you're just managing, 2, 3, maybe even a handful of people at the very top level of the organizational chart, and then they're taking care of everybody else down. That's when you become a CEO. Typically, sometimes it may happen around 10 million. Most of the times it's going to be like 15, 20, 25 million dollars in revenue, depending on your profit margin and your EBITDA, to really be able to ascend into that role. That's when you know you've made it. And one of the benchmarks that I look at is if you can leave your business for 3 to 4 weeks. Like if you can go on a European vacation and not have to field phone calls, every day, let alone a couple of days. And like literally, if they don't communicate with you, you go dark and you come back and the business is in equal or better shape than when you left. That's when you know you've made it to the CEO role. So these are the things that I see that are going to help you scale your business. Doesn't matter what it is. You can open up a donut shop, dog grooming business, real estate investing, whatever it is. You need these traits to be successful. If you found any value in this at all, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next video. And I'll see you guys on the flip side. Have a great day.